one of my favorite hobbies is reading. And so in the field of exercise sports science, nutrition science, sports performance, I've read a lot of books, and I'd like to share some of those books with you in the course of this video series that I'm going to put as part of my channel. And I'm just calling it simply Book Club. I know, very profound. So Dr. Miller with my first book of consideration, and I might pull in some of the books I've read in the past. I'll also highlight books I'm reading currently. This is a book, it's a very small book, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say that when I first picked it up, the book is called Periodization, 12 Weeks to Breakthrough by Moran is the author's last name, and Lennington, excuse me, there's two authors. And when I picked the book up, I was thinking in the sports science realm of linear periodization. But I come to find out this book is not about periodization related to, this is the book here, by the way. There it is. So what I found out, though, embarrassingly so, is this is a book that was written for businesses and for sales. And the reason I'm sharing it with you, I was like, well, what does that have to do with, this is a weird book to start with. Well, concepts. Many times, when we focus on training, especially those that have been in this field a while, you get muck in the mire, like you get bogged down with periodization. Like and there's all these different models. What this book reminded me of, though, and I'm not saying you should have to necessarily purchase it again. It's a very short book. I'm not necessarily recommending you have to buy it, but what it reminded me of is that periodization is just an organization of a plan. That's it. There's no magic to periodization other than organization. That's it. So the book talks about accountability, a coach. The book even references, how it's been used in sport, but it's more about, this book talks about 12 weeks being more of a year, a macro cycle, all these words we like to use. But basically it's just a plan. Like during this block, I'm going to focus on this in building my business. During this block, I'm going to focus on building this in my business. It keeps you on task. It makes you make a commitment to the plan, because if you don't follow step 1, you don't get to step 2, right? And if you get to step 2, it's fouled up because you didn't do step 1 properly. And so it keeps you accountable in that respect as well. And so this concept of periodization is not exclusive to sports, and that's good because we can step back a lot of times when we get caught in the minutia of periodization and arguing over periodization and thinking about periodization and saying, what is it really? It's phases of training. When we apply it to this field, the sports science and hypertrophy training and whatever we're doing, even in nutrition, it's just phases of training. We have a focus during a specific time that builds to something, a competition, to the next phase, whatever it may be. And so when you think of periodization that way, it's not overwhelming. It's not that ambiguous. It's not that confusing. It's not this crazy concept. It's just deciding then in your cycle, however long your cycle is, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, a year, whatever, the quad is, what are you going to do right now to get you to the ultimate goal wherever you're going? And if there's steps to that, like I want to get stronger, does that mean that you need to gain some muscle mass to do that? Yes. Okay, well then you need to do step 1, gain muscle mass. That makes more sense because strength is, it's getting closer to what your sport looks like. So this idea of general preparatory versus special preparatory. These things start to get overlaid and it starts to make sense a lot more. What's step 1? In a business, what's step 1? Well, you get a business plan, right? And then capitalize it. Well, in training, what do? Step 1 is figuring out what you suck. I'm out of shape. My conditioning is terrible. Well, get in condition, because until you are in condition, there's no way that you'll be able to get the most out of your strength work. It's just the way it is. Until you're work hardened or your work capacity is up, you're not going to be able to handle higher volumes of weight training. Or if you're a weightlifter, you're not going to be able to do all these heavy snatches when your conditioning is not very good. So that's all periodization does. It says, what do I need to work on? What's the steps to do it? What keeps me on task? Understanding that I can't skip to step 3 unless I do step 1, because if I do, I won't be successful and my goal will ultimately not be met. So again, a strange book I realized to start an exercise science, nutrition science book club, video series with, and again, I'll pepper these videos as we go. But I think one that it made me really reflect on myself, these concepts that I'm going to be talking about in some of these books. Many times we make them far more complex than they need to be, right? The keep it simple, stupid principle, I think, is a good one. And I'm talking to myself more than anybody. So hope you found this video somewhat useful. Again, I'm not saying you have to check out this particular book, but if you want, it's just a tiny little thing. I don't know how much it would cost. Like, I got it from the library, not gonna lie. But it just, I think, is a good initial start to, as we get into some of the heavier texts, potentially, that not to lose focus, not to lose perspective as we look at some of these books and some of the brilliant minds or the good minds in our field that we enjoy so much in movement science. Again, subscribe to my channel. If you like what we say here and like to see more videos, like this video and then comment below, and I try to get to them as well if you have any questions.